I guess this would be classified as a movie review, but also a review. Also, unofficial creature features, even though it wasn't creature features at all. It was a movie that they would probably show on that. They haven't. Tank Girl, the 1995 Tank Girl movie based on the imaged IDW UK comic. Uh, that was back in the 90s, 95. Punk rock sort of post-apocalyptic Mad Maxy thing. Yeah, yeah. So this is a review of that. Back on it. Back in the day, we saw that in the 90s. Probably early San Jose State, I would say. Yeah, at that point. Yeah, I can't say Marcus Cards and I both saw it. I don't know if we saw it together. I think we did. And the mutated kangaroo people didn't impress him, although they were furries, technically. But, yeah. Had Malcolm McDowell chewing scenery, Iggy Pop chewing scenery. And Malcolm McDowell had just been in Star Trek Generations at that point, killed Kirk in that movie. And he is in this one kind of playing a similar villain, bad guy. It's kind of like if David Warner ended up playing the mad scientist in 1991's Ninja Turtles 2. Also was in Star Trek 6. Also was a Klingon in Next Generation. Just to be, yeah. And Star Trek 5 as another character. Star Trek 5 in 89, he was. That's a different guy, but it's interesting that David Warner ended up in 2 Star Trek movies on the Next Generation and in Ninja Turtles. Malcolm McDowell ended up in a similar premise is that a comet, like in Night of the Comet, the classic 80s movie, which had a young Robert Beltran in it, from Voyager. The red letter media things. We already mentioned Star Trek. But yeah, of course, Masters of the Universe had a young Robbie McNeil in it. So, yeah, so anyway, so this one has nobody really that became famous except for those main. The planet's hit by a comet and somehow the water dries up. But it's the far off year 2022. Kind of funny to do that. Sort of like when 2019 rolled around movies. Blade Runner. So yeah, and that weird sci-fi. But here we have a movie that really did, except for some of the illustrations and some of the effects work, doesn't really match at all Tank Girl so much. But it does match Batman the Animated Series. The character in it is very much like Harley Quinn from Batman the Animated Series at this point. With a new character introduced in DC Comics at that point. And on the animated show, of course. Cover light in the animated show. Harley Quinn would not get her movie debut until The Suicide Squad. A couple of years, 2016, somewhere around there. And then the sequel in 2021. So, also a TV appearances. Embarrassing. Joker's girlfriend. And if they ever made a remake, they would cast Margot Robbie as Tank Girl. Because obviously. Just to be, well, why not? They were thinking of a remake, actually, but maybe it'll follow the comic book better. They did show the missile tits, though, that she's got these infamous nuclear missiles, which wouldn't work. They do show that in the movie. It's just not just actually like it's a joke, and it doesn't go anywhere from there. At one point, shacked up with one of the aliens. Yeah, it's odd that this movie is like listed on Amazon Prime as rated R, even though really it's just for the I think the F word was uttered more than 3 times. And the suggestive humor, I guess, and raunchiness of it, but really, I would have said PG-13, because considering the stuff that's on cable nowadays, this is PG-13. There is, I mean, brief nudity. It's so brief. It's like, yeah, there is a faux lesbian scene in it too. It's very woke. People don't say, well, the only people that say woke are the alt-right. I'm surprised this movie didn't anger the alt-right. Empowered woman goes and kicks ass. But it's sort of mocking that in this movie. It's sort of a punk rock mock thing. It's a Mad Max with a girl, basically. She gets a tank. That's the titular title. Lady. Well, the actress in it is not heavily endowed down there in the boobs. But in this version, Jet Girl. The premise of the story is that she's living in this house with this kid that she got a hold of. They adopted. It's never clear. There's a boyfriend dude she pals around with. She gets a. Then there's this evil water power guy played by Malcolm McDowell, who wants to steal the water from the desert and kills Iggy Pop. And making him step on glass. So they managed to trap the girl, and then actually Zack Snyder was probably inspired by this when he made Sucker Punch, but he didn't get it that it was sort of a spoof of misogyny. The bad guys in it, like Sucker Punch. It's not him. It was Matete that directed this. Her name is. There was a lady director that directed this, Tank Girl, and she didn't get. Zack Snyder and Sucker Punch didn't get that it isn't empowering if they don't actually beat up the bad guys and they have fantasies where they do. It's not empowering. It's actually the opposite of that. In this movie, she's actually empowered. She kicks ass. Girl kicking ass. But the movie's not that great. I mean, there's stuff in it that just makes no sense. It is interesting, though, that they have a Techite in it. And you might think from seeing the Star Crackers when it was out on video in 2012 and 2014, the later versions of it, when it went on video, that we got the Techite idea from Tank Girl. We didn't. It might have been from the comic, I guess. Maybe that's where Mark Swartz got, but not the movie, because the original Star Crackers idea was done in 1992, 2 years before the movie. So we couldn't have. I would say the comic book. Mark Swartz actually envisioned Asloth the Techite as being more of a German Shepherd than this guy was in the movie. This guy was more of a hound dog dude, like a Doberman or something. The dumb movie. It would be funny if Red Letter Media did a review of the best of the worst of it. I wonder if it does make best of the worst though, because it's bad, but it's entertainingly bad. The non-ending where it's animated, they go for a waterfall. They didn't show it. They animate it. It's like, why'd they do that? They set it up for a sequel. It never made it. Didn't make any money. It's late. It's very late. So, hope you enjoy it. Well, yeah, it had moments. It reminded me of Gunhead and Harley Quinn and stuff like that from back then. It was a live-action Gunhead movie. It was also about a guy who drove around in a tank, kind of thing. The punk rock scene kind of thing going on, and familiar with some of that offhandedly through relatives, but they could have. Yeah, because we were never punk rock goths. We were posers in high school. We acted a little emo at times, but we were posers. We were nerds. We were sci-fi geeks. So we totally would have watched this movie one day. But this was in college years. So. And yeah, it was. Yeah, because I think Stan Winston helped on this. I don't know why they got the makeup so weird looking. Didn't really work. I think they were wearing rubber masks. It's funny that Ice-T was in it. It's not a good movie. It's bad, but that's why it's on unofficial creature features. It that can't be a good movie. So yeah, there's Tank Girl. I will edit this in the morning and put it together, and I'll do it tonight. But here is the video of it and my review. If you want to go see it on Amazon Prime or something, go ahead. But we warned that it's nothing like the comic book, except that visually it kind of is, but story-wise it's really not. They did their own thing. I like that they didn't set it in contemporary Los Angeles like they do with the He-Man live-action movie. Cool world. And if you look up the director, she produced some of the John Waters movies, like Crybaby and Hairspray. So that's interesting. So the director went on to produce Crybaby and Hairspray earlier than this one. You can see a little bit of John Waters' humor in this movie. I don't think he directed it, but I can see a little bit of stuff of wacky sort of thing. There's that scene where they go to a space brothel thing, which I think that if they had no water on the planet anymore, which doesn't make sense, that they would have that they wouldn't have a space brothel because nobody could sweat. They'd all be dead basically if they didn't have water. But apparently they can suck the water out of people with bottled water things stuck to their back. The bad guy gets stopped by Tank Girl and the others. He tries to blackmail her at the end, and it ends in her destruction. So his destruction. He's got a holographic head or something, or robot, or I'm not sure what the heck he's supposed to be at the end. His head is holographic. So is he like a robot, and the technology is all in the robot arm? What's going on? Never quite clear on that. But he can die because he gets zapped. At one point he gets trapped with his bell arm. So with a shredder arm, like Ninja Turtles. There's a similar bad guy in the comics, but it's not. They made him different. The movie got everybody wrong. Tank Girl's not as busty as she should be. Not really as she's pretending to be punk rock instead of actually being there. It's not earnest enough. It's not sarcastic enough. There's some, but it's very 90s, the movie. Very 90s. Demolition Man feel to it. Yeah. So yeah, very 90s. But yeah, it's bad. It's not a good movie. So yeah. It's Tank Girl, I guess. Roundabout.